This placement that takes one ascending further along their path resides firmly alongside the quest that one was destined to share with others. A firm handshake was taken so that one could believe that a quest of such magnitude could come to fruition for all of humanity's sake. There can be no words to describe or formulate this kind of agreement that each and every one of you have made. As you say, it was written in the stars. Let's begin by looking at this in a direction that one can associate with a much better understanding. First, we will take off a piece of one's chip they have on their shoulder, better known by you as ego. We want to help you scatter this so that only the places that it needs to remain in one's life will exist. The teachings that give you this formality of ego are seen throughout one's daily life by the ego filling in as one's preferred personality. It is like one is dipping their hand constantly in that candy jar for another sweet. We are using this as a metaphor to represent an egoic thought. When the last piece of candy sweetness runs out, one keeps grabbing for another, just as one grabs for another egoic thought after another. One could call this an addictive way of being without even one realizing it. A superb way of eliminating all possibilities is for one to not be tempted to keep wanting something that is forcing them to keep grabbing for the same components of thought that is the match to their current state of being. The solution resides in the recognition of one's state of being, and then to eliminate what is showing up in one's life, mirroring the same version of what one recognizes in themselves. A cycle of one's behavior consistently matching the same behavior continues a cycle of rinse and repeat. The ego draws you into this hypnotic state like candy teases a child to want more. From this standpoint, the release of one's ego is not tied up by this constant banter going on in one's mind to portray itself as a living structure that interferes with your living structure. Instead, the ego is freed up to no longer demonstrate a cycle of giving one the personality traits that define one in not so desirable ways, but for the true ego to be heard once again through an unclouded vessel, coming through to your senses of the physical structure. When a personality is no longer affected by ego, the ego can take its rightful place alongside a vessel, known as the physical body, that receives a sensory call for one to move through love instead of a personality linked by a portrayal of a flaunting of their worth. The Creator's choice for this aspect you call ego remained to provide one's senses as part of the physical body to have a companion, giving one a heads up, as you say. But the longing for one's free will proposes a different story than the one that is told by one's ego. The story goes as this: a man's worth becomes more relevant as one relates more to an aspect of a conscious alertness, to an awareness of the silence that is between the noise in their life.